And a good afternoon and welcome to the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School. We have in store a great high school boys lacrosse matchup between two conference foes. We have the Plainview Hawks. They enter this contest 1-3, coming off an impressive 11-3 victory over Island Trees. And on the opposing sideline, the Herricks Highlanders, 1-1 on the season, a young squad. And now we have the pleasure of being joined by the head coach of the Herricks Highlanders, Steve Baselli. And coach, a relatively young squad growing to their own. How do you feel your team has matured as you've entered this program?
Well, they've matured in the way that they're listening. They're paying attention. They're trying to learn the game to the best of their ability, and we're trying to emphasize teamwork and basics.
And, Coach, your team was in action yesterday. Any worries about your team having a back-to-back and possible fatigue playing in a role?
Well, they're young kids, and they're excited about playing. And, fatigue should not play a factor into this. They got to come out. They got to be ready. This is why we train hard.
All right, thank you very much, Coach, and good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, now for the Plainview Hawks. Coach, your team starts 7 sophomores and an 8th grader. How do you feel your team has matured over the first 4 games of the season?
Matured exactly the way I wanted them to. A rough start, going 0-3, coming out with a big win on Saturday. They're growing together. That's exactly what I wanted this team. Starting off the season, I knew it was going to be a work in progress, and every day, like I said, we put the pieces together. So, I'm real happy about it. They're doing a great job.
And, Coach, your last time out, an impressive 11-3 victory, first one of the year. What did you see from that contest that you want your team to bring over into today?
Well, we share the ball real well. Multiple guys scored in that game, and, a lot of the goals were assisted, and that's exactly what I want to happen. No standout players. I want everyone, touching the ball. I want a good team effort.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next, first face-off between the Herricks Highlanders and the Plainview JFK Hawks. But you're watching high school boys lacrosse on MSGVarsity.com afternoon livecast. And a welcome back as the first face-off momentarily underway between the Herricks Highlanders and the Plainview Old Bethpage JFK Hawks. But let's get you the stars for this afternoon's contest. Let's start with the visiting Herricks Highlanders, 1-1 on the season. On the attack line, they'll start Ryan Orlando, a team leading 6 goals on the season, joined by Xavier Salinas and Jimmy Vasic. The first field offensive midfield, Siddharth Sharma, the captain Thomas Graff, and Alan Cho. On close defense, Michael Hogan, joined by Kevin Ryerson and a 9th grader, Jack Scaldaferri. In goal, Ted Dowd, a captain on the team, 27 saves thus far through 3 games. And their face-off specialist, he's a Fogo, a face-off and get-off guy, it's Billy Clark. On the rope unit, they'll run a rotation of guys. They'll run Albert Mokapolis, Anthony Giliberto, Bo Dito, and with the 50-inch poles, David Vespi and Michael Petray. And the head coach of the Herricks Highlanders, Steve Baselli, his first year, he was the assistant coach for the Herricks Highlanders last year, and before that, he was the JV coach. And now for the Plainview Hawks, they start 7 sophomores and an 8th grader. Their attack line, Josh Heller and Dan Desimone, is joined by Dan Carolin on the first field midfield line. Joseph Trentacosta and Joseph Hopkins, joined by Tyler Engel. And the close defense, Chris Pastier, Nick Saraceno, he's a captain on this squad. He'll sit this contest. He's a little bit under the weather. Adam Kaufman will fill in for him. Brandon Cherry will shore up the defense. They'll be protecting a pair of goaltenders. Jake Morris will see action in the first half. He'll then be relieved in the second half by Adam Seltzer, the face-off specialist. Alex Steinhilber, he has 1 goal on the year. He'll see the majority of the action at X. The rope unit, led by a captain in Sal DiGaetano and Christian Corison, Brian Cameron, and Adam Kaufman will see action on the rope unit as well. Head coach of the Plainview Hawks, he's been here the previous 11 seasons. Chris Rogler is his assistant. Pat Bernardo and Matt Gentile handle the offense, and Steven Jacobs will run the defense. So first face-off coming up momentarily between the Plainview Hawks and the Herricks Highlanders. The last couple years, these two teams have met up. It's been all Plainview. Plainview has won the last 5 contests, including a 13-3 decision last year. And Herricks, they were in action yesterday. They played an overtime thriller versus West Hempstead, lost that contest by the score of 5-4. But speaking to Coach Baselli, he said, entering that contest, I wanted to give some guys a shorter rotation or give them more of a breather so they'd have more energy and be ready to go today. So first off, set to get underway between the Highlanders and the Hawks, both teams from Conference 1. The Hawks 0-2 in conference play. The Highlanders 1-0 in their only conference game thus far this season. It's been a tough schedule for Plainview, opening the season 0-3, and people possibly seeing that 0-3 schedule, but that's not necessarily indicative of the type of team you have. Opening the season, Plainview played a tough slate versus Bethpage, who went 9-7 a year ago. Then to follow that contest, they faced off against Oceanside, who currently is 3-1 and third in the Conference 1 standings. They then followed that contest up with a matchup versus Powerhouse Farmingdale, fresh off, in case you weren't aware, a 16-3 2010 campaign. But speaking to the head man of the Plainview Hawks, Chris Rogler, saying he's seeing a noted maturation of his team as they carry on through the season. So first face-off on the way. A couple players to keep an eye on the attack line for this Plainview team. Josh Heller and Dan Desimone both lead the team with 6 goals and 2 assists apiece. And for the Herricks Highlanders, they're led by Thomas Graff on the midfield. He has 2 goals, 8 assists on the year, a player who the coaching staff feels can get his own shots, but thus far early on in the season has used his lacrosse ability to set up his teammates with his team-leading 8 assists as well, joined by Ryan Orlando on the attack line, who has 6 goals and 1 assist on the year. And as we mentioned for this Plainview team, they started the year off 0-3, but labeled by the coaches as one of the best teams that Plainview lacrosse has ever seen. There's no fear of an emotional letdown, according to the coaching staff, because after that 0-3 start, the coaches feel this is a young group with a love for lacrosse. It's a brotherhood that practices hard, and they get after each other, and they're just a young group adjusting to the faster game speeds. And once again, a reminder, folks, log on to msgvarsity.com and click on the Find a School tab for season lacrosse previews of Herricks and Plainview Old Bethpage High School. For all things high school, it's MSG Varsity and msgvarsity.com. So we're just about ready to go. First face-off between Alex Steinhilber and Billy Clark as the ball rolls towards the midfield. Of both teams vie for the ball, and working from left to right will be the Plainview Hawks in their royal blue uniforms. They'll swing it on over the top towards the near side and tossed out of bounds towards the near sideline. So 11:43 on the clock. Herricks will look to clear the ball as we have no score thus far early on. One of the keys to this contest has been Plainview's ability to force turnovers on the clear, as Herricks attempts to clear the ball right now in the stick of goaltender Ted Dowd. But early on in the season, Plainview has been a team very opportunistic on the rides and forcing turnovers. And early on, they forced one on the Highlanders. Quickly in the crease and a shot top shelf. Josh Heller gets the action start off early on. 40 seconds in, it's a 1-0 Plainview Hawks advantage. So right on cue, we make note of the ability to ride and force turnovers, and that's what the Plainview Hawks have done thus far to their benefit. That's something this coaching staff says, I need my attackmen to not get lazy on me. I need them to ride towards the middle line. I need them to use the sideline as a funnel, as an extra defender, and funnel the opposing team and use that to force turnovers, and that's what we saw right there. Skip it up upfield to the attackman, Josh Heller, who chipped in his 7th goal of the day. So now Herricks will have their first offensive opportunity as they'll toss it in a pass, unable to be corralled by Xavier Salinas. So 11:07 on the clock, a 1-0 Hawks lead. And the Hawks will attempt to clear and set up their second offensive possession of the day on the far sideline, and unable to take a feed is Chris Pastier. He'll start on the defensive line. Offensively for this Herricks team, they're learning a new system. Last year they entered under the tutelage of Tom Susko. He ran more inverts for that squad. This year, more of a ball possession. If you watch college lacrosse, think about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish lacrosse style, that ball possession, smart shots, identify lanes, and then take that shot when you get it. As controlling on the near side is Alan Cho. He'll dish it straight away now. As Albert Markopoulos, labeled as the Where's Waldo player on this Herricks Highlanders team, he'll see a bevy of positions. He'll play on the offensive midfield, the defensive midfield. A player who Coach Baselli joked around saying, I'll scream out, where's Albert? Because I need to get him on the field and in position to make a play. And he's on the right alley now. He'll dish it behind the cage at X is Xavier Salinas. Towards the near sideline, Alan Cho, think about it, pulls it down. You'll see Plainview in that 3-3 defensive set. And the player most important is Sal DiGaetano, right in the middle of it all, calling out the slides. Here's Salinas on the crease, goal line extended. Back to Cho, top of the box to Thomas Graff, the 6'1", do-it-all midfielder for the Highlanders. 10 minutes to go in the first period of play. Hawks leading by the score of 1-0, coming off an early goal by Josh Heller. 40 seconds into play. Here's Troll near side. He'll move towards his right straight away as Thomas Graff using that athleticism to save that pass from going over his head. He'll work towards his right. Draws a slide. Dish it far side now to Ryan Orlando. Thomas Graff. He'll be the starting quarterback for the football team come this fall. A player who lauded for his athleticism in all sports. He plays baseball. He plays high school lacrosse. Plays football, and a player who can create his own shot, draw a slide, set up for his team. Good feeder, and a good finisher. Here's Ryan Orlando. He has 6 goals on the year. He's done an exquisite job thus far through 2 games. He draws a double team. He's at X behind the cage. Herricks in a 2-3-1 set, one at X, and they promptly turn the ball over and going across midfield with a head of steam is Pat Montes. The short stick midi now with it straight away. 10 feet away, righty shot, bounced and past the reach of Ted down. It's a quick 2-0 lead for the Plainview Hawks. 8:54 to go here in this first quarter of play. Good job there by Pat Montes, identifying that he had a head-on shot and that nobody picked him off the fast break opportunity. Plainview, their team, they like to play at a rapid pace, not in a settled situation. They like unsettled situations, quick passes, quick feeding. And according to Coach Chris Rogler, he wants to play Plainview speed lacrosse. And right there, Pat Montes doubled up the advantage as they now lead 2-0 with 8:54 to go here in the first quarter of play. Illegal violation on the Hawks, it appears, and the Highlanders will once more control with the ball. They'll sub in the first midfield line, and here's Thomas Graff, and singing the praises of Thomas Graff was a great athlete, very nimble on his feet, and does a great job of keeping his balance when dodging. He can be a good feeder or a good shooter, and those abilities were in full effect the first contest versus Hempstead, where he had 1 goal and 6 assists. An excellent job finding his teammates on the crease, and that's going to be a big key for this Herricks team, breaking down this 3-3 zone defense from the Plainview Hawks early on. The Highlanders, they'll start off in a 1-4-1 set. On the right side, controlling for the Highlanders is Thomas Graff. He'll dish it straight away. Albert Markopoulos near side to Siddharth Sharma. Sharma's got long range ability. He can fire from anywhere. And that one's turned away as a good head-on save there by Adam Seltzer. Adam Seltzer splitting time with Jake Morris. It's been an adjustment period for both goaltenders. As a turnover there by the Hawks, they'll give it right back to the Highlanders. But Adam Seltzer and Jake Morris, both of them have their positives and negatives. With the coaching staff feel, they complement each other very well. Seltzer, if you have to ask the coaching staff his positive, he's better of the two at being patient, at feeding on the clear. And if you look at Jake Morris, he started last year for this Hawks team. Better of the two on the outlet. Does a great job of sitting on the stool. If you put him on those one-on-one opportunities where he's bare alone, does a great job not jumping out. And last weekend versus Island Trees, he saved a couple of beautiful opportunities. One-on-one against an attackman as a forced turnover there. And Adam Kaufman with the long pole. And a holding will give the ball back to the Highlanders. Highlanders trail 2-0, 7:18 to go here in the first period of play. You're watching high school boys lacrosse on MSGVarsity.com. It's a matchup between the Plainview Hawks, 1-3 on the year, 0-2 in conference. Their home opener looking for their first victory in Conference 1 play. And the Herricks Highlanders, they're 1-1 on the season, 1-0 in conference play. And the officials for today's game, Steve Wojcinski and Pete Sigmund, they'll be making the calls. It's straight away, working towards his right. Here's Mark Kopolis, turned away, pulls it back down. Siddharth Sharma, he'll dodge from about 15 feet out. Absorbs a shot there from Brian Cameron. As Sharma will go low and changing plays, and now will roll out of bounds. Closest to the possession was Herricks. They'll keep possession at the 6:41 mark in the first period of play. They trail 2-0. Coach Maselli, he's got a relatively young group and trying to instill the basics into his group, and that's one of the things he's noted to his team. You've got to change planes, make it hard, and now Thomas Graff gives it a ride, and he changed planes, but that one goes wide, right to the cage, out of play. onto the track here at the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School. So extended possession. Here's Thomas Graff. He'll get the ball off the rebound. Loose change. Over to Orlando. Underhand scoop shot. That submarine shot will go wide left of the cage towards the near sideline and out of bounds. And great hustle there by Adam Kaufman as possession will go to the Plainview Hawks at the 6-9 point. First quarter, my name's Stephen Florival. It's a 2-0 advantage for the Plainview Hawks. Their home opener looked to pick up win number 2 on the year. Last weekend, 11-3 victory over Island Trees. A game which witnessed Josh Heller explode for 3 goals, joined by Dan Carolin on the attack line. He had 2 goals as well. Plainview on that game opened the game with the first 10 goals, and that spanned the first 29:54 of action. So they jumped out to an early advantage in that contest, and in this contest, they lead 2-0 with 5:51 to go in the first period of play. Unable to take a feed at the top on the nearest sideline for Herricks as they'll dish it around on left point. Here's Michael Hogan, second midfield line, seeing some action now on offense. He'll take a double team. Couldn't get into the offensive zone in time, so they'll turn it over to the Herricks Highlanders as Herricks going from right to left in their road blue uniforms. Plainview, royal blue uniforms. 5:27 to go here in the first period of play. Here's Alan Cho on the near sideline. He'll look to get it across midfield and tosses it into his offensive zone. Loose ball on the ground. Both teams vying for it. Up with the ball now. Being double-teamed is Chris Pastier, the defenseman. He'll swing it upfield now to Tyler Engel, middle of the field. He loses possession of the ball. And it appears John Carrison, push Xavier Salinas in the back. Push will be the call, and it will put the Herricks Highlanders on the man up for 30 seconds. So the first EMO of the day goes to the Herricks Highlanders, looking to cut that deficit in half. They trail 2-0 with 5:05 to go in the first quarter of play. So Thomas Graff will initiate the offense straight away. Far sideline, here's Orlando. Sharma, back to Graff. Near side is Markopoulos, in close. He'll swing it back over, and they'll work it a loop-de-loop behind the cage now. Here's Cho. Left side now. Here's Sadar Sharma. Head-on shot. Good save by Ted Dowd. Sharma got his full body behind that one. He got his hips and his body weight. He let one fly, but a good save there as Ted Dowd went towards his knees. He'll start to clear now. 4:30 to go in the first quarter of play. It's a 2-0 Plainview advantage. And a timeout called by the Plainview Hawks. And log on to msgvarsity.com for all your boys and girls lacrosse news, features, and highlights. Tuesday is our boys lacrosse rankings, and Wednesday is the girls. msgvarsity.com, your home for everything lacrosse. And while we have a stoppage in play, let's go over what's transpired thus far early on in this contest. 4:27 go in the first period of play. Josh Heller added his 7th goal of the year. He now leads the Plainview Hawks with 7 goals on the season. And then the short stick midi, Pat Montes, not seeing a lot of action on offense, but off the ride, forced a turnover and made it a 2-all advantage for the Hawks. And that's where we stand now with 4:27 to go in the first stanza. You know, Herricks as well has a highly acclaimed music department, which is home to 10 different performing ensembles. Jazz bands, wind ensembles, chamber orchestra, and chamber choir are just a few. And on the lacrosse field, this Herricks team, conditioning might be an issue. They played a game yesterday and played a game today, and it probably doesn't help that contest went into overtime. It was a highly contested 5-4 contest against West Hempstead. Ryan Orlando tallied 2 goals and an assist. And Thomas Graff, what more can you say about him? He added towards the stat sheet 1 goal and 2 assists in that game. Thomas Graff, a player who this coaching staff identifies as maybe the most talented player on the team. And they go out of their way sometimes to make life a little bit harder, so he has to push himself. They have a drill in practice where they'll have one half of the team stand on one sideline, the other side of the team on the parallel sideline. And the drill essentially is they'll have a goaltender in cage. The coach will drop the ball in the middle of the field, and he'll call out numbers from each side, and they have to vie for the ball and then score the goal. Well, the coaches look towards one sideline. They call out Thomas Graff's number 22. They look towards the other sideline and then call out 4 defensemen, 1-on-4. Thomas Graff versus 4 defensemen. He was able to carve a lane, unable to get a shot, but that's how highly they think about Thomas Graff. Only in the 11th grade, doing great things for this Highlanders team. So Plainview will control it now with 3:53 to go here in the first quarter of play. Stoppage in play now. Plainview offensively, they like to dodge with Joseph Trentacosta and Brian Cameron. Trentacosta, a player who you'll see straight away when they run that 1-4-1 set as seen right now. Number 42, he'll stand about 5 feet outside the top of the box. And Cameron, he'll control at X as the primary dodger in that 3-2-1 set. For Coach Rogler, he just wants to see his squad show some good ball movement. As he says towards his team, head up, make the next pass. Near sideline now is Sal DiGaetano, seeing some action both ways now on offensive midfield. Both teams vying for the ball. A loose ball push on Plainview, so Herricks will pick up possession. It's 3:30 to go here in the first quarter of play. My name's Stefan Florival. Plainview Hawks holding a 2-0 lead, and just a reminder, at halftime we'll be joined by the principal of the Plainview JFK Hawks, Mr. James Murray. So Herricks, Siddharth Sharma, nicknamed by his teammates Darth Vader. He'll control straight away. They'll move towards the goal line extended, back towards Xavier Salinas. Some tight hounding man-to-man defense right now, no zone defense, as it's Chris Pastier with the long pole. Here's Thomas Graff. Loses possessions momentarily, he'll scoop it right back up. Rick Orlando, usually an attackman, he's caught out there on defense straight away. Here's Graff, submarine shot, goes wide, left of the cage, out of play. They'll touch it up, and Xavier Salinas will resume possession for the Highlanders. Under 3 minutes to go here now in the first stanza of play. It's a 2-0 Hawks advantage. Near sideline, ball on the sideline, and being double-teamed now with the ball is Thomas Graff. He scooped it back over to Albert Markopoulos, but to no avail as possession will be giving back to the Plainview Hawks. And defensively for this Herricks Highlanders team, they're not necessarily the biggest team you'll see on defense, but they thrive on having a high lacrosse IQ, as a good swipe there by Ryan Orlando. Gets the ball loose at midfield now, and moving over into the attack box is Jimmy Vasic. As they'll slow it down and settle into their offense. Alan Cho and Albert Markopoulos checking onto the field, but talking about that Herricks defense, not necessarily the most stout defense you'll see, but they thrive off of being able to play towards their opponents. They play off of their strengths. Execution is their key. Having a high lacrosse IQ. They'll go to that 3-3 zone when teams trying to stretch them out to try and protect that paint. But they want to work on having help team concepts, and they'll do a good job on quick adjacent slides and not leaving anyone one-on-one. So we're under 2 minutes to go here in the first quarter of play. The Hawks leading the Highlanders 2-0. Turnover now, and the long pole, Adam Kaufman, will start the fast break opportunity. Over the midfield line. He'll pull it back down as they look to settle back into the clear. Is Tyler Engel straight away. My name's Stefan Florival from the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School. You're watching high school boys lacrosse on MSGVarsity.com. The afternoon live cast between two teams in the Conference 1. The Herricks Highlanders 1-1 on the year. Plainview Old Bethpage 1-3 on the season. At X with the ball now, here's Brian Cameron. Cameron, he's a mere 8th grader, not necessarily matured as far as putting in a weight training program or being the strongest out there, but he's got a lot of heart, and that's what this coaching staff loves about him, where they have the confidence to put him in there as an 8th grader. As Tyler Engel gave that one a ride, a bounce shot, couldn't make it towards cage. Ted Dowd, impressive athleticism as he'll go all the way out from cage towards the near sideline. The cage is wide open as he'll swing it into the attack zone. And a shot wide left of the cage. Good idea there by Joseph Hopkins. Just couldn't find Twine. It'll roll all the way out of bounds towards the far sideline. Excellent hustle by Joseph Trentacosta. Will keep possession with the Plainview Hawks as there's now 32 seconds remaining on the clock. Hawks have to work with it quickly. They have half a minute to score a goal. They lead 2-0 here in the first stanza. Feed off point. It'll roll all the way towards midfield, and those midfields already vying for possession. Loose ball now. 18 seconds on the clock before the clock is stopped. All holding on Herricks. Back to Plainview. They lead 2-0, looking to add to the advantage. Straight away, here's Joseph Hopkins. Hopkins will have to move with it quickly with 8 seconds on the clock now. Here's Hopkins in the lane, being triple teamed. He'll swing it over on the far sideline. Good field awareness there by the 9th grader, Jack Scouter Ferry. And that's how the first quarter of play will end, with the Hawks with a 2-0 advantage over the Herricks Highlanders. First quarter of play, scoring early on in the first 4 minutes of play as Josh Heller added the game's first goal a mere 40 seconds into play. And then 2 minutes later, Pat Montes, 8:54 remaining in the first quarter play, made it a 2-0 score for the Hawks. And it's been a defensive battle between these both squads, doing a great job of protecting the paint, making sure that these shots, which are fired by both squads, are from long range and 15 feet out. And a source of inspiration for this Plainview team, as Stephen Jacobs is currently an assistant coach for Plainview. His family's impact deep-rooted in the Hawks lacrosse program. His brother David played lacrosse for the Hawks and graduated in 2004. Now David Jacobs is currently serving our country overseas as the captain of the 10th Mountain Unit in Afghanistan. In respect to his commitment and sacrifice, the team turns to David Jacobs as a source of inspiration. That's why each game, the Plainview Hawks, they bring 2 flags to the sideline. An American flag is brought to the field by the 3 captains, Josh Heller, Sal Di Gaetano, and Nick Saraceno. And another flag, a flag of the 10th Mountain Unit currently serving in Afghanistan, is carried to the field by Coach Stephen Jacobs. Chris Rogler and his coaching staff also as well. They wear camouflage T-shirts with the logo of the 10th Mountain Unit on it. According to Rogler, the message is simple to our kids. We have the right to play lacrosse because of the courageous men and women overseas such as David Jacobs. We should be thankful and have no excuse not to give it our all. A great message by the coaching staff as the team, as the Plainview Hawks, game in and game out. Not necessarily full on maturation. A lot of young kids, as we mentioned earlier, they start 7 sophomores and an 8th grader. But effort knows no maturation level. No excuse from this coaching staff not to give it your all each and every time. So the second quarter of play will begin, and the first face-off still being vied for by Alex Steinhilber and Billy Clark. 2 teams switch sides, and moving from right to left here, the Plainview Hawks with a 2-0 advantage. Far sideline now. Dan Desimone has the ball turned over. Back to Herricks. As you see now, Plainview on the ride. It appears that they forced a turnover as they funneled that Herricks clear towards the sideline and then used that lacrosse IQ and presence on the field to force the turnover. And Plainview, well, they'll have possession once more. 11:35 to go here in the first quarter of play. Offensively early on, Plainview, they're dodging with Trent Acosta at X, but right now, Josh Heller working with that X, and on the near sideline, they'll dish it off to Ryan Corbett, second midfield line, seeing some minutes here in the second quarter of play. Here's Corbett near the side, straight away to Trent Acosta. Behind at Cage to Heller, that's where he likes to create. He likes to do his little spin move and look to feed first and shoot second. And a shot by Ryan Corbett. It's wide right of the cage. Corbett got his hands free and let one fly, but that one rolling out of bounds toward the far sideline. So it's Holler. He's in on the crease. That one somehow doesn't get in. It appears it deflected off of the cage and rolls out of bounds, and Herricks will pick up possession of the ball. 10:45 to go here in the first half. Hawks leading 2-0. Both goals coming in the first 4 minutes of play. First goal scored by Josh Heller, his 7th on the year. And then Pat Montes will chip in his first goal on the 2011 campaign. Ball loose and scooped up by the Hawks. Across the midfield line is Pat Montes, head of steam, top of the box near side to Heller. He looks to send a feed on the crease, and it's over the head of Dan Carolin. And out of bounds, directly behind at X. Good fast break opportunity for Plainview on that possession, but unable to get that stick-to-stick passing. And now Herricks once more. They'll try to clear the ball as Plainview has been hounding on this ride. As you can see, double team coming on the near sideline. And once more, they force a turnover as the attackmen getting into the action on the ride now. That was Josh Heller and Dan Carolin, both starting on the attack line for the Hawks, and both of them getting into the action and swiping the ball out of the stick of Kevin Ryerson, a captain on that Herricks team. So an extended offensive possession once more. Straight away, here's Joseph Hopkins. Righty shot, wide right of the cage. Ted Dowd, however, was in good position to turn that one away. Ted Dowd is a player for this Herricks team who the primary guy before him was a man by the name of Charlie Cipriano. He's now the goalkeeper at Fairfield. And as a senior, Cipriano was named second-team All-American Nassau Goalie of the Year. Ted Dowd's a converted defenseman who filling in admirably for Cipriano, who the coaches necessarily didn't know who their goaltender was, as an underhand scoop shot right there by Dan Desimone off point. But Dowd said, I'll take the role. I'll take the burden of being the goaltender. And the coaching staff will joke, he's a big body and not afraid to take a fastball. As a high school goaltenders are at a premium. As Ted Dowd is faked out by a shot, and Dan Desimone adds the third goal of the day for the Hawks. It's a 3-0 Plainview advantage over Herricks. 9:36 to go in the first half. Desimone in competition with Josh Heller for that top scoring output on the team. For about a quarter play, Josh Heller had the most goals on the team, and Dan Desimone responded, no you don't. He chipped in his 7th goal of the year. Both players tied with 7 goals on the season as the Hawks lead 3-0 here in the first half of play. 9:36 remaining. Loose ball at midfield and a scrum for the ball as it's loose change on the ground. Loose ball push on Plainview and Herricks. They'll look to get into their first settled offensive possession of the second quarter of play. As we mentioned earlier, Herricks running a new kind of style offensively. They ran a lot of inverts last year. Shot percentage, a key point of emphasis for Steve Baselli and his coaching staff. First game versus Hempstead, 35 shots, 13 found the back of the cage. Looking for a number possibly north of 45%. That smart shot ball possession offense in play right now as Ryan Orlando controls on the near side. And a good check there as the ball is dislodged from his stick as Chris Pastia, the defenseman, doing a good job on Ryan Orlando. As a feed towards midfield, and here's Trent Acosta now. Brian Cameron, the midfielder now. Ball loose straight away, 8:33 to go in the first half of play. It's a 3-0 Plainview lead. Both teams now vying for it. There's now 6 bodies around that one lacrosse ball as there will be a stoppage in play. Loose ball push. Possession back to the Herricks Highlanders. Steve Baselli took over this Herricks team. He was the assistant coach last year under Tom Susko, and this year he's the head coach of the varsity team. And something he's emphasized to his team is take pride in being a member of the Herricks Highlanders team. He said teams before the season, they'll look down the schedule and they'll preview who they face this season. He says, I don't want Herricks to be a school where teams pinpoint as this is a winnable game or this is a game where we can eke out a victory. He wants teams to be happy when they board the bus and head back to Herricks. Alan Cho, near side goal line to Orlando, who couldn't fire one under the reach of Adam Seltzer. Good ball movement on that possession. As Ryan Orlando changing planes, faking high and going to the submarine shot. Unable to connect, though, but possession still with Herricks. Plainview leads 3-0, 7:42 to go here in the first half of play. Stephen Florival calling the action from the campus of Plainview, Old Bethpage, JFK High School. Alan Cho, middle of the box now. He'll dish it towards the near sideline now. Here's Markopoulos. He has his hands free. He fires one and deflected by Brandon Cherry. The defenseman made so it didn't make it towards cage. Alan Cho, good job coming up with the ground ball. Herricks possession once more as they trail by 3 goals with 7 minutes to go. He got his hands free now, and an underhand shot by Albert Markopoulos once more to no avail. Possession will resume for the Highlanders at the 7:12 mark behind the cage. Here's Jimmy Vasic. He'll give it a ride, drawing a slide, looking for an outlet man, but he loses the ball. Hounding defense thus far early on from Plainview. They've done a good job stalemating the opposing attack. Ball checked out of the stick, and a good check by Chris Pastier. And a loose ball push once more on Plainview. So Herricks will get possession of the balls. But in their last contest, Plainview held the opposing Island Trees team the first 29:54 of lacrosse without a goal. And thus far, they've gone roughly the first 18 minutes of lacrosse of scoreless lacrosse for this Herricks Highlanders team. Ball rolls towards the near sideline and out of bounds. Good job there by Pat Montes, using his body to shield off Herricks. So they'll turn it over and give possession back to the Hawks. Hey, fans, want to see the best high school lacrosse in the tri-state area on demand? Well, tune into MSG Varsity Interactive IO Channel 614 and point your remote to LAC Central. There you'll find the top game and top players in the tri-state area. LAC Central, only on MSG Varsity Interactive IO Channel 614. Sadar Sharma, far side in the left alley for Herricks. He'll control now as they'll settle into their offense. 2 behind the cage at X. Cradling on the near sideline is Markopoulos once more, initiating some offense early on. He has Thomas Graff straight away, but a good job eluding Pat Montes with the short pole. Top of the box, ball rolling towards midfield. And Sadar Sharma will pick up the ground ball under 6 minutes to go now in the first half. A 3-0 advantage for Plainview. Here's Sharma. He'll go to the goal line, extended to Orlando. Markopoulos, he'll work with it now. You're witnessing that slow possession offensive style. This Herricks team, they like to work for their goals, get into their sets. As the ball is loose at midfield now, raking the ball is Albert Markopoulos, takes a spill. And a loose ball push once more on Plainview. 5.5 minutes left. We've seen 1 goal in this second quarter of play, and that one was off the stick of Dan Desimone. Made the score 3-0 earlier in the game. 40 seconds into play, Josh Heller added goal number 7 of the year. And it was then followed up by Pat Montes to give the Hawks a 2-0 advantage, and that's where we stand. 5:08 on the clock. Score 3-0 from the beautiful campus of Plainview Old Bethpage. The weather called for some scattered showers throughout the afternoon, but at the moment, just cumulus clouds. It's roughly 52 degrees, about a 15-mile-per-hour winds. Ball once more appears to touch the end line out of bounds. Herricks will scoop up possession once more. It's 4:50 on the clock. Steve Baselli is in his first year as the head coach of the Herricks Highlanders. As a player, he played attack at Kings Park High School, then went on to attend New England College, where he switched to the midfield. Now a retired member of the New York Fire Department. And you may wonder, he went to Kings Park High School. How did he go to Herricks? Well, his wife went to Herricks, and that explains it all. As Herricks controls on offense behind the cage on the far sideline. Here's Thomas Graff in the left alley. Back to Sharma, left point, draws a slide. He'll work towards the goal line extended as we're at the 4:20 mark now. Behind the cage at X. Jimmy Vasic looking to elude a man with the long pole. He's in close in front of the cage now. Head-on shot Good look there by Xavier Salina, just a tad high. But an excellent job there by Jimmy Vassett creating some offense, drawing a slide and sending a good feed the way of Xavier Salinas. Herricks still looking for their first goal of the afternoon. They trail 3-0 with 4 minutes to go in the first half of play. You're watching high school boys lacrosse on MSGVarsity.com. It's the afternoon live cast between the 1-3 Plainview Hawks and the 1-1 Herricks Highlanders. It's a Conference 1 battle and a timeout on the field. As both sides will talk it over. And fans, if you want to see great action, photos from today's game, well, tomorrow, log on to MSGVarsity.com and click on the Photos tab to relive all the action from this heavy-hitting contest. It's been a great action thus far early on. 3-0, a close contest, and a big thing for both squads is you have one team in Plainview, 7 sophomores and an 8th grader, and the opposing sideline you have the Herricks Highlanders, not a multitude of seniors, 6 seniors on the squad. On the defensive line, they start a 9th grader in Jack Scaldaferri. Confidence, fighting through adversity, big key for both sides. And Herricks High School is located in New Hyde Park and is home to 1,450 students. The superintendent of Herrick High School District is Dr. Jack Beerworth, whose father was a U.S. ambassador in the Reagan administration. Dr. Jane Maduno is Herrick High School's principal. Just get the mindset of some of these players as if you look at this Herrick squad, they've been coached for the majority of this of their lacrosse career by Steve Baselli, who's in his first year with Herricks. He was previously the JV coach for the team, and you may ask, is there an adjustment period, the team chemistry, getting to know the coach? Well, pretty much all these players on this team were previously coached under the tutelage of Coach Steve Baselli, except one player, and that one player was Thomas Graff, who starts on the midfield for this Herricks team. And it all started back Thomas Graff's freshman year. He goes up to Coach Steve Baselli and says, Coach, I'd like to start for your JV team. Coach tries him out. He goes to practice, and after practice, Coach tells Thomas Graff, well, I can't put you on the JV team. You have to go straight to the varsity team. So for Thomas Graff, the one player on this Herricks team who did not play on the JV squad for Steve Baselli, as action resumes with 3:37 to go on the clock and a 3-0 Hawks advantage. Plainview will control with Josh Heller on the near side. Goal line extended. 2-3-1 set. That one person, Josh Heller, behind the cage. Trafficking the offense. He'll swing it off to Tyler Engel. On the near sideline, here's Joseph Hopkins. Hopkins working towards his right. He'll draw a slide. Absorbs a shot, and he'll dish it towards the cage. Loose ball scooped up by Dan Desimone. 3 minutes to go now on the clock. A 3-0 Plainview score. Plainview jumped out 2 goals in the first 4 minutes of play and 1 lone goal at the 9:36 point in the second quarter of play by Dan Desimone, and that's where we stand. A brisk Wednesday afternoon. Both teams looking to pick up a crucial Conference 1 victory. These conference games, they have an extra little edge on them when you play them. A little extra effort and that extra oomph on these shots given for these Conference 1 battles is Alan Cho absorbing a blow with 2:30 to go in the first half of play. It's a 3-0 Plainview advantage. Here's Cho controlling with it. He has 1 goal and 2 assists on the season. It's Thomas Graff quiet thus far this afternoon. Swing it over to Siddharth Sharma. Back to Cho on the near sideline. Lose the ball momentarily. Ball loose on the ground. Both teams vying for it. Sharma, Johnny on the spot. Up with the ball now. 2 minutes to go in the quarter. 10 seconds outside of the offensive zone. So possession back to the Plainview Hawks, and they don't waste time. They'll move it right back into their offensive zone. Near side to Heller. Heller in close on the crease. He'll bounce one. And it's past the reach of Ted Dowd for the 4th goal of the day. So that's 2 goals for Josh Heller and a 4-0 advantage for the Plainview Hawks over Herricks. And a reminder, log on to MSGVarsity.com for all your boys and girls lacrosse news, features, and highlights. Tuesday is our boys lacrosse rankings, and Wednesday is the girls. MSGVarsity.com, your home for everything lacrosse. Josh Heller right there, that patented spin move he likes to do on the crease. Excellent spin move. Put it under the reach of Ted Dowd. He's a 6'1", 170 righty. He's a returning starter for this Hawks team. Good finisher, and that nifty move set displayed in full force on that offensive possession as we have 1:50 on the clock now and a 4-0 Plainview lead as Plainview look to add on to the damage as they'll control once more on the far sideline. Second field, midfield line, seeing some action now as Shane Lenahan will check onto the field. He's joined by Brian Cameron and Ryan Corbett. 3-2-1, one at X. Near sideline is Dan Carolin. He'll dish it straight away. And Brian Cameron will swing it on the far sideline to Corbett. Corbett looking for a righty shot. Pass in traffic. Pass unable to being scooped up by Lenahan as there's 1 minute on the clock now. He's in the left alley and Lenahan has a lane. He'll pull it back down and swing it over to Corbett. Underhand shot doesn't make it towards cage. Deflected by Ayman Syed. And both teams vying for the ball on the far side alley. As a flag on the play, and it appears will be on Plainview with 48 seconds to go in the first half of play. 2 goals in the first period from Plainview and 2 more in the second. And just a reminder, at halftime, we'll be joined by the principal of Plainview JFK, Mr. James Murray, as it's been all Plainview thus far this afternoon. Both teams battling tough in this contest. It's a 4-0 deficit for Herricks, but they're fighting tough. Defense doing an excellent job of sliding and forcing a turnover as they can possibly build some momentum going into the locker room break. 48 seconds, Thomas Graff with the ball, and he'll start straight away. Sharma on the near sideline. Orlando, goal line extended. Back to Sharma. Plainview settling into that 3-2-1 offense. That 1 at X. Possessing the ball right there. That's Jimmy Vasic. Left point now. And a shot high, low by Sharma. Deflected by Seltzer. Rolls towards the near sideline. We have 24 seconds on the clock now. And a timeout for Steve Baselli's crew as he'll diagram a play. Look to get one last offensive possession as this contest has seen 3 different scores for this Plainview team. Josh Heller, 2 goals. He leads the way. Pat Montes with a goal as well. And Dan Desimone as the attack line. 3 of the 4 goals for the Plainview Old Bethpage JFK Hawks. And we want to give a special shout out to the Plainview Old Bethpage JFK Pobots team members. And yes, you know who you are. The Hawks robotic team was center stage at Hofstra. And we have complete coverage of the event. Hundreds of photos and a video report of the team. MSGvarsity.com for the best in high school sports and activities. Chris Rogler, who is a self-described scrappy, blue-collar, ground ball machine midfielder at Hofstra, said he'd like to see his team be more of a defensive-minded team. It's a relatively young squad, and it's hard for a team such as Plainview when you have a young squad, and they face up against top offensive teams such as Farmingdale, where you have to preach to your team, okay, we're going to go in with a defensive mindset, but they've weathered the storm, and they're looking to pick up their 2nd consecutive victory. Both squads, a maturation process as Plainview, one of the up-and-coming schools on Long Island lacrosse, and Herricks, a school on the rise as well. Steve Baselli said he likes what they're doing in the community. He knows a lot of the kids. He lives in the same neighborhood, and he feels that in a couple years, this program is going to be exactly where he wants it to be. So 15 seconds on the clock now, and a fast break opportunity for the Hawks. With the ball now, here's Dan Carolin as a shot wide right of the cage. It was one-on-one with Carolin and Ted Dowd. Plainview still has 10 seconds to work with it quickly on offense. They'll sub in quickly their first midfield line as the clock now running for Old advantage. Far sideline now. Here's Desimone looking for a lane. 2 seconds on the clock now. It'll roll out of bounds, and that's the buzzer for the halftime break. It's a 4-0 advantage for the Plainview Hawks. Over the Herricks Highlanders, a tight contest, back and forth. Both teams, great defensive effort. But right now, the Hawks lead 4-0. Josh Heller, 2 goals at the halftime break. Pat Montes and Dan Desimone chipped in for the action, so it's a 4-0 advantage. And now we now have the pleasure of being joined by the principal of Plainview JFK, Principal James Murray. Your students represent the age of technology. How do you feel about watching a live game on MSG Varsity of your high school lacrosse team?
I think this is actually an outstanding experience for our school community, for our students to be able to see themselves on TV. It's an educational experience for them, and it's also a great experience for their family members that aren't able to get to their games on a regular basis, or they live too far away, whatever the case may be. It just has totally changed the way we view high school sports.
And an event such as this, broadcasted on television, online, I've got to imagine that builds up a sense of school pride.
It sure does, and this is just the start of it. So I'm looking forward to many more experiences like this in the future.
And what would you say about athletics being useful as far as building up an educational system around these athletes?
Yeah, this is really a great thing because now our students can be reflective of what they've done on the field and go home and watch themselves on TV afterwards, talk about what they saw, what they did right, what they did wrong, what they'd like to do differently in the future. So it's definitely an educational experience for them all around.
And that was the principal of Plainview JFK, Principal James Murray. Principal, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I got a note from Plainview Old Bethpage Assistant Principal Sharon Lasher reminding me to tell you on Thursday, April 7th, is their annual moot court competition beginning at 8:30 a.m. 12 schools with 6 competing students will make their case in front of about 30 lawyers and judges from Nassau, Suffolk, and Queens. This event is one of the most highly recognized high school moot court events in the area. Now I have the pleasure of being joined by Sean Healy, the PAL Female Youth Lacrosse League Director. How do you feel that's gone as far as developing young talents and identifying players who possibly could put in a program such as that?
Well, as you know, Plainview Old Bethpage, our background in sports has always been really soccer and baseball. And what we've done with the PAL, we've been able to grow the whole program between the football and the lacrosse programs. And we're very excited about the progress that we're making. And we're the feeder program to bring the kids up to the high school level. And I expect in the coming years that we're going to be fielding some more competitive and better teams.
So for some people possibly unaware of what your motto, what you stand for, how you operate, give people background information on how you operate and how this all came about.
Well, it was a little slow in coming. Like I said, the other sports were more popular here. There are other towns in the area that had stronger programs, and we're a little slow to the starting gate. But right now, people are starting to recognize that we're having a stronger youth lacrosse, youth football programs here, and we're starting to be recognized as being more competitive and stuff. And what we're doing is with the clinics, with the younger kids, the girls lacrosse, which I'm the director of right now, we start as low as kindergarten up through second grade with a clinical program, and they're the ones that are feeding our travel team programs. So we're thinking in the next coming years that we're going to be bringing stronger teams to the field.
Beautiful, excellent. And yourself, Mr. Healy, who are some of the other key figures as far as getting this program thriving and the way you want it to be?
Well, absolutely. I'm the director of the girls. I have Jeff Burson, who is the director of the boys program. Tim Engel is the director of the overall program. And we have a great staff of coaches that span the whole spectrum. Myself, I never grew up with lacrosse. As a director, I'm good with the administrative stuff. But we have guys that have played in high school out here in Long Island, guys that have competed in college. And one of our coaches, he says he was an All-American. I'm not going to give up his name, but I said he's a pretty strong player, and they bring a lot of quality instruction to the program.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Once again, that was Sean Healy, the PAL of Female Youth Lacrosse League Director here in Plainview. Second half of action coming back. Stay tuned. You're watching MSGVarsity.com afternoon livecast. Want to see the best high school lacrosse in the tri-state area on demand? Well, tune into MSG Varsity, Interactive IO Channel 614, and point your remote to Lac Central. There, you'll find the top game and top players in the tri-state area. Lac Central, only on MSG Varsity, Interactive IO Channel 614. And want to see great action photos from today's game? Well, of course you do. Tomorrow, log on to MSGVarsity.com and click on the Photos tab to relive all the action from this afternoon's contest. Action slated to get underway once more here with under 1 minute to go to the second half of play. It's been all Plainview thus far early on. They hold a 4-0 advantage at the halftime break. The action got started off early on with a goal from attackman Josh Heller. He has 2 on the afternoon. Pat Montes would chip in the second goal of the afternoon. The festivities would continue on in the second quarter where Dan Desimone would chip in his 7th goal of the year, a 3-0 advantage, and that second goal from Josh Heller would then succeed that goal. So that's where we stand at the moment. It's a 4-0 Plainview Hawks advantage over the Herricks Highlanders. Highlanders in the first half doing a good job of weathering the storm as they fell behind the 8 ball. 2-0. They trail in the after the first 4 minutes of play, but those young kids in the blue uniform from Herricks, they've done a good job of fighting through it. And they now trail 4-0. 12 minutes to go as the second half of play getting ready to get started off. Herricks will move from right to left. Plainview left to right in their royal blue uniforms. Ball loose in midfield. Flag on the play. And a cross check will draw a 1-minute man up for the Hawks. For the Highlanders, excuse me. Thomas Graff will start the offensive possession at midfield. Thomas Graff, 1 goal and 6 assists in his first contest of the year against Hempstead, a player who doesn't run as quick as his 40 time would indicate. Coaches say in practice he might be a slower player, but come game time, his game speed is top-notch. So about 45 seconds on the man up. Thomas Graff, top of the box. Near side is Albert Markopoulos. Puts one on cage and deflected away. In the cage now, here's Adam Seltzer still seeing action as in a righty shot on the left point. Turned away once more by Seltzer. Couple impressive saves there by the junior. By the sophomore in his 10th year is Adam Seltzer. Stoppage in play and possession will be given to the Plainview Hawks as that man-up opportunity for Herricks. Adam Seltzer was right on the spot as he had to turn away a couple shots. So there's 11:08 to go here in the third quarter of play. It's a 4-0 Hawks advantage. Chris Rogler's squad will move it into the attack zone. They'll slow down the offense as Pat Montes gave a thought to firing that one on cage, but he'll swing it back top of the box to Joseph Hopkins. Alley near side is Dan Desimone. Off to Heller. Being methodical with the ball in this possession. Here's Desimone. He'll swing it to Ryan Corbett. And here's Montes. He had the second goal of the day to make it a 2-0 score at the 8:54 point in the first quarter of play. Settling into their offense, they're in a 3-2-1 set. And Herricks will take over offensive possession of the ball now. 10:25 to go. They trail 4-0. Here's Thomas Graff in a crowd in midfield. He'll swing it over to Xavier Salinas. Top of the box, here's Salinas. Back to Graff. Siddharth Sharma will scoop up the loose change off the ground. 10-minute mark now in the third quarter. It's a 4-0 Plainview advantage. Stefan Florival from the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School as the Hawks look to advance to 2-3 on the season and in their home opener, pick up their first win in Conference 1 play. Flag on the play. As it appears, it will put Herricks on a man up. And, of course, you'd want to see great action photos from today's game. Tomorrow, log on to msgvarsity.com and click on the Photos tab to relive all the action from today's contest. Herricks trailing by 4 goals with an opportunity here, a man up, possibly put one on the scoreboard, cut into that 4-goal deficit. As Albert Markopoulos will control on the near sideline now. Here's Vasic, talented attackman. He'll swing it to Sharma. Unable to come up with it now. It bounces off of his helmet and rolls towards the back of the end zone. Ball still loose on the end line, and hugging that out-of-bounds line is Greg Genjoin. So there's roughly 30 seconds remaining on the man up for Herricks as they got to move quickly with the ball now, and they lose the ball. Play still being halted as the referees will set up the Herricks offense, and away we go. 4-0 the deficit. 9:20 to go here in the third quarter of play. Here's Vasic giving it a look. Plainview looking to crowd that paint as they're a man down. Here's Sharma. Left side, he'll bounce one. Once again, Adam Seltzer. Johnny on the spot, turns that one away. 9-minute mark. Plainview leads 4-0. Here's Corbett in the left alley. Looking to get into the offensive zone, and the one-man clear is Ryan Corbett. Tyler Angle controlling with it now. Left side. Angle, he's a player who they'll use to dodge with. He's 6'2". He can see directly over the defense with that height. As the ball is loose on the far side alley. Plainview will maintain possession as Dan Desimone controlled it momentarily at X, and the ball still loose once more. Scrappy play once more right now as the ball picked up by the Herricks Highlanders and absorbing a blow and keeping his feet moving is the freshman Jack Scaldaferri. He's got that 50-inch pole and loses possession of the ball. As Herricks is just attempting to clear this ball, Plainview an excellent job on the ride. Adam Kaufman with the 50-inch pole. He'll come up with it. Look to set up a clear for Plainview. Both teams scrapping for the ball, hounding defense up and down the field. And a timeout by the Plainview bench as we'll have a stoppage in play now. And the Herricks Quiz Bowl team is a past champion on MSG Varsity's quiz show, The Challenge. In 2009, Greg Lanise turned the team over to Jeremy Cohen. Currently we stand at the 7:38 mark in the third period of play. Plainview leads the Herrick Highlanders 4-0. They scored 2 goals in the first quarter of play. Josh Heller, goal number 7 at the 11:20 mark in the first quarter of play, and then followed by Pat Montes would chip in the action, would join the action about 2 minutes and a half later. Second quarter of play, similar to the first. Dan Desimone, 7th goal of the year, and then followed by Josh Heller. And the two have combined, Dan Desimone and Josh Heller, for 3 of the Plainview 4 goals. And we stand at a 4-0 advantage. And you can log on to msgvarsity.com and click on the Find a School tab for season lacrosse previews of Herricks and Plainview Old Bethpage High School. For all things high school, it's MSG Varsity, and it's msgvarsity.com. The outlook for both squads coming into this season, relatively similar. 2 young teams, 2 teams on the rise. The talent level in Plainview on the rise as well, because as Chris Vogel says, I have more kids coming in through the middle school ranks. I have more kids signing up for the varsity lacrosse team. And this Plainview team looking to make a mark this year, as the last 5 years they've defeated this Herrick squad. But this Herrick squad, similar to Plainview, they're a relatively young group playing for the name on the front of the jersey. It's pride. It's all about being proud of having a Herrick lacrosse t-shirt. First-year head man Steve Baselli saying he loves the community. He lives next door nearby most of these players, and he wants these kids to take passion in being a Herricks lacrosse player. Well, they've been very passionate this afternoon. They fought hard. As Plainview will have possession of the ball on the near sideline. Brian Cameron will start us off at the 7:37 mark in the third stanza. He'll swing it behind the case to Josh Heller, already 2 goals on the day. As you can see, that 3-3 defense in full effect right now. As Jack Scaldaferri out guarding Josh Heller behind the cage. Crossfield pass over the way of Brian Cameron. He'll do a righty dodge and swing it back to Dan Desimone. Desimone, the 3rd goal of the day. Over to Josh Heller. He's in close. He'll swing it to the far sideline. 0-degree angle shot by Sal Di Gaetano, one of the captains on this Plainview team. That one goes out of bounds towards the near sideline, and Dan Desmond will touch it up and resume possession. We're a couple of ticks under 7 minutes to go here in the third quarter of play. 4-0 advantage for Plainview. They currently control the ball on offense. As Brian Cameron works within about 3 feet outside the top of the box. Desmond now back to Heller behind the cage at X. Heller working around in front of Cage and a head-on shot and unable to find Twine and put it home as Dan Carolin was in the face of Ted Dowd. But Carolin couldn't find Twine, but they still keep possession of the ball with 6:28 to go here in the third quarter of play. Josh Heller, he'll cradle with the ball for the majority of the offense as once more Carolin was open on the crease. Pass wide left, rolls towards midfield. As Brian Cameron will just flick it back into field, and Josh Heller there to scoop it up. He'll swing it to Desmond, 6:06 on the clock. Left point, Corbett thought about giving it a ride, but lost the ball before he could let it fly out of his stick, but he scoops up the loose change under 6 minutes to go now. In close is Desmond. Good save by Ted Dowd. Didn't jump out in front, held his ground, and he turned one away. Here's Desmond. He was looking for Carolin, but Carolin had his back turned towards them. It's a 4-0 Plainview advantage. No scoring here in the second half of play. 2 goals in the first quarter by Plainview. 2 as well in the second. And it's a 4-0 Plainview advantage. 5:30 to go here in the third quarter of play. The lacrosse IQ for both squads on full display this afternoon as it's been a defensive stalemate by both squads. 4-0 the score now is Plainview with an extended possession as Josh Heller controls on the far sideline. Back towards X to Desmond. Near side, here's Carolin. That shot will be fired left of the cage, and Josh Heller will pick up possession of the ball. Herricks content to sit back in that zone defense and not force the action. Right now, Plainview's trying to spread out this Highlanders defense, but Coach Steve Baselli, in anticipation of that, said, we're going to sit back in the 3-3 set, make the offense come to us, and protect the paint. And right now, it's Desmond on the goal line extended towards X. In close, in front of the cage, and puts it home. It's Sal DiGaetano, the captain. His 3rd goal of the year, known exclusively for his ability on the defensive midfield line. Two-way guy on the offensive midfield. 5th goal of the day. It's a 5-0 Hawks advantage. In case you want to see the best high school lacrosse in the tri-state area on demand, well, tune into MSG Varsity Interactive, IO Channel 614, and point your remote to Lac Central. There you'll find the top game and top players in the tri-state area. Lac Central, only on MSG Varsity Interactive, IO Channel 614. So Plainview will come up with the face-off, and they'll move it into their offensive zone. In close, unable to take a feed as he was in close was Joseph Trent Acosta. Good hustle there, diving for the ball. But possession will go at the 4:04 mark back to Herricks. It's a 5-0 score at the moment. Plainview leading the Highlanders of Herricks. Herricks was in action yesterday afternoon. Home contest versus West Hempstead. That one went to overtime where they dropped a tough 5-4 contest. They turned around and took the bus up to Plainview, and that's where they are this afternoon in this contest on the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School as a bounce shot by Siddharth Sharma turned away once again by Adam Seltzer. He's been stellar between the pipes, blanking the Herricks Highlanders thus far. And that pass was deflected and out of bounds towards the near sideline. Plainview will maintain possession of the ball. Coming up for both squads, a challenging schedule as they get into the full slate of conference game. Plainview, this is their first home game of the season. A couple days from now, they'll be in action against Uniondale. And Herricks, they'll be on the road once more against Calhoun. Both of them will be in action coming this Saturday. As Plainview will start the offense, they'll settle it down. And the ball loose at the top of the box. As Joseph Trent Acosta looks to slow down the frantic pace for this Plainview team. Herricks, you can tell, very hounding, trying to force a turnover as a good lefty dodge by Trent Acosta. Over to Desimone. He's in close on the crease. He thought wisely, pulls it back down, he'll swing it over to Heller. On the left point now, his angle. A rocket deflected and turned away by Ted Dowd. Good look there by Engel. As another shot off the rebound and unable to find Twine. So we're at the 2:32 mark here in the third quarter of play. My name's Stephen Florival, and the Plainview Hawks lead the Herricks Highlanders by the score of 5-0. Josh Heller and Pat Montes back-to-back goals in the first quarter of play. Then Dan Desimone has a delayed flag on the field. But it was Dan Desimone and Josh Heller in the second quarter of play, and Sal DiGaetano the only goal in the second half of play at the 4:24 mark. And we have a 5-0 score with 2:18 to go here in the third quarter of play. On the beautiful campus of Plainview Old Bethpage, JFK High School. Earlier in the afternoon, blue skies, but right now a little bit cloudy over the field. As Herricks, they'll get their first settled offensive possession here in the second half of play, really. Here's Ryan Orlando at the controls. Off to Sharma and straight away to Graff. Sharma near side. He has Albert Markopoulos. Markopoulos will just fling it about 10 feet up in the air. Loose ball in front of the cage. Both teams vying for possession. It appears it was a loose ball push on Herricks. So the possession arrow will go towards the Plainview Hawks in search of their first conference victory of the season. Last year, this Plainview Hawks team, up and down season, but at one point when they had things rolling on all cylinders, they won 5 of 6 contests. They're looking for back-to-back wins thus far early on in the season. So Dan Desimone will be at the controls behind the cage. Roughly 1:30 to go here in the third quarter of play. You're watching High School Boys Lacrosse on MSGVarsity.com as the afternoon live cast between the Plainview Hawks and the Herricks Highlanders. Plainview currently with the ball, moving from left to right. They lead 5-0 with 1 minute to go here in the third quarter. Desimone, he'll look to initiate the offense. Heller initiating the offense behind the cage, and a good spin by Cameron, and that one's deflected and turned away by Dowd. Ted Dowd, he's seen a bevy of shots, but he's held his ground and done a great job as he had a 3-goal against average coming into this game. And this Herricks defense doing a good job working as a unit, keeping those shots from the outside and from low percentage range. Ball loose now and scooped up by the goaltender, Adam Seltzer, seeing some extended minutes because he has a shutout going at the moment. It's a 5-0 Plainview lead, under 30 seconds to go in the third stanza. Ball loose, Thomas Graff on the defensive side of the field. He'll swing it on over, and they'll move over into the attack zone as Sadar Sharma look to get the Herrick Highlanders on the scoreboard with roughly 10 seconds to go now. Here's Sharma, left side, near side. 5 seconds on the clock. In close, here's Salinas. He took a shot and took a spill, and that's how the third period of play will end. Plainview Hawks leading the Herricks Highlanders 5-0 in a tight to the vets contest, and a contest which both teams fighting for possession of the ball. But that's where we stand. It's a 5-0 advantage for Plainview. They scored 2 goals in the first quarter of play, added 2 more in the second quarter, and a 5th in the third quarter. So the fourth quarter play set to resume shortly from the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School. Hey fans, want to see great action photos from today's game? Tomorrow, log on to MSG Varsity and click on the Photos tab to relive the game. It's only on MSGVarsity.com. This year in Herricks, but Chris Rogler, a figure who's been on the sideline for this Plainview team the previous 11 years. He was a player at Plainview, played 4 years on the varsity, then went on to play at Hofstra. He was a midi. He played 4 years under the tutelage of John Danowski, who he said had a great impact in the way he approaches lacrosse. According to Chris Rogler, John Danowski, who is currently the coach for the Duke Blue Devils, who were the champions last year for the Division I Men's Lacrosse League, Coach Danowski forced him to challenge his kids first as people and then secondly as players. Off the face-off, the two teams will switch sides and Plainview will work from right to left in their royal blue uniforms. We're about 15 seconds into this fourth quarter of play, and Plainview with possession of the ball and a 5-0 advantage. And a flag on the play. As you probably heard, a slashing on Michael Petray. So Plainview will be a man up at the 11:38 point. Here in the fourth quarter of play, they lead 5-0. The action in the first quarter of play started off with 2 goals. The first goal came at the 40 seconds into the contest off the stick of Josh Heller. Heller, 2 goals this afternoon. A rather lanky player, 6'1", 170, but he's got an arsenal of moves and he uses it to his advantage. Early on in the season, his teammates say he'll dish it off to them, but early on in the season, he's found his shot and has found the back of the net 8 times through the first 5 games of play. On the far side is Dan Desimone. 11:30 on the clock. Desimone loses the ball, but Plainview will keep possession of the ball as Joseph Trent Acosta will scoop up the ground ball. Good job by the man-down defense for Herricks, intercepting a pass and swinging it back into the offensive zone. And Kevin Ryerson, a captain, a senior defenseman for this Herricks team, as it's tossed back to Plainview. They'll look to get it back into the offensive box quickly as they still have the man up. It's a 5-on-4 advantage in close, and that's the hat trick. Josh Heller, his 3rd goal of the day. It's a 6-0 Hawks advantage. Off the unsettled situation, a fast break opportunity, swung it upfield into the stick of Josh Heller. Good head deke, got down out of cage, and he just simply rolled it in. His 3rd goal of the day, 9th overall on the season. Face-off X, Tyler Engel playing on the face-off wing with that short stick. He'll come up with possession of the ball. His turn, 10:35 remaining in this contest. It's a 6-0 Plainview advantage. The score reading 6-0. Herricks has played very tight to the vest in this game. Defense not giving a lot of opportunities for this Plainview offense. They've been crowding the paint a lot. But it's been the ability for this Plainview team to force turnovers. Good job funneling on the ride. Time out as Chris Rogler wants to talk some things over. His team holds a 6-0 advantage with 10:15 remaining here in the ball game. Stephen Florival here on the campus of Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School lacrosse matchup between the Plainview Hawks and the Herricks Highlanders. Herricks, from here, they'll look to keep their positive momentum going forward. They have a matchup versus Calhoun. For this Herricks squad, a young team. They start a 9th grader on their defensive line, a player by the name of Jack Scaldafair, who a lot of his teammates feel is an emotional leader of sorts. He's the toughest guy on the team, says the coaching staff. They just want to refine his intensity a little bit because he's a raw talent. But both squads, they got there's an 8th grader on Plainview as well. That's Brian Cameron. He's seeing some action on the offensive midfield line. And players such as Brian Cameron and Jack Scaldaferri, maybe a couple years away from being on the maturity-wise, physically on the other players on the field, but they don't lack heart, they don't lack intensity, and that's what we've seen from both players this afternoon. So the Hawks will resume possession of the ball. They lead 6-0. There's 10:15 on the clock here in the fourth quarter of play. The latest damage done by Josh Heller, that was the hat trick at the 10:50 point in the fourth quarter of play. He has a goal in the first, one in the second, one in the fourth. As well, Pat Montes, Dan Desimone, and Sal DiGaetano with tallies for the Hawks. And the aforementioned Desimone controlling at midfield and swing it towards the far sideline. Here's Trent Acosta straight away and a head-on bounce shot, and give Ted Dowd a lot of credit. He stymied a bevy of shot attempts as that one was from long range, high-low plane shot. And you can see there's about 5 Hawks in that defensive zone looking to force the turnover. And they were successful as that Hawks ride stifling this afternoon. Heller behind cage, near side. He'll look to put in goal number 4. He'll swing it over off the post. Dan Carolin had a good look, just couldn't find the back of the net as that one deflected off the right side of the post. And now a fast break opportunity for the Highlanders. And Salinas giving that one a ride, and that one will fire high over the cage and out of bounds. How's that for hustle? The goaltender, Adam Seltzer, leaving his position from in cage, sprinting to the sideline, and getting possession for the Hawks. 9:19 on the clock now. Plainview leading Herricks 6-0. Both teams will have a quick turnaround. They'll both be in action this Saturday. .9:05 on the clock. Hawks just looking to hold on. They lead 6-0. They'll swing it to Heller. They'll make some substitutions and settle into that offense. As Ryan Corbett will see some action at the midfield line. Good poke check there out of the stick by Jack Scaldaferri. As he'll swing it up the field, and Billy Clark trapped on the sideline. And a little bit too chippy on that play as it will draw a flag. 1 minute cross-check penalty. Herricks, they'll be on the man up. They trail 6-0 with 8:39 to go. Lacrosse, a funny game. The action can swing quickly. Maybe the hardest thing to do in lacrosse is to hold a 2 or 3 goal advantage with about 5 or so minutes to go in the contest. Right now, the Highlanders, they can cut into this deficit, possibly get it to 5. They have a man up right now, and Thomas Graff will start off straight away. Here's Sharma, right point. Back to Graff. That pass off point, out of bounds towards the far sideline. So Plainview will have possession of the ball, but they'll still be a man down. 8:26 to go in the contest, roughly 40 seconds on the man down. Let's recap the action if you're just tuning in. Josh Heller and Pat Montes scored the first 2 goals of the day for the Plainview Hawks. Then in the second quarter play, Dan Desmond and Josh Heller, they'll chip in 2 more goals. They went to the locker room up 4-0. Then Sal DiGaetano, the captain, would chip in the 5th goal of the day. And more recently, Josh Heller, adding his 9th goal on the day, 9th goal on the season. He has the hat trick today. So that's where we stand. 8 minutes remaining in this contest. It's a 6-0 advantage for the Plainview Hawks. Josh Heller will work with it on the goal line extended near side. He'll swing it to Joseph Hopkins. Right now, Plainview, they're just going to methodically kill off that clock, kill off this man down. An inch closer to victory number 2 on the season. They're 1-3 overall, 0-1 in Conference 1 play, looking for their first Conference 1 victory. Far sideline, dodging his Dan Desmond. He'll draw a slide, and that'll kick him back to the top of the attack box. And Joseph Trent Acosta will initiate the offense. He'll take a screen, dish it to the far sideline. In the paint, and a bounce shot. Impressive shot there off the stick of Joseph Hopkins. He was in traffic in the painted area and bounced it over the head of Ted Dowd. Goal number 7 on the day. Hawks leading 7-0, 7:10 remaining in the ball game. It'll be Steinhilber and Billy Clark at the faceoff, as Clark will flick that one up in the air, and it's scooped up by a wing for the Hawks. Pat Montes already a goal. He'll swing it in close, and Carolyn is double-teamed and a delayed penalty. Slashing the call on Herricks. So the Hawks will look to add on to their 7-0 tally with 6:55 remaining here in the fourth period of play. My name's Stefan Florival. This game being broadcasted on MSGVarsity.com. It's the afternoon live cast between the Herricks Highlanders and the Plainview Hawks. Herricks 1-1 on the season. Plainview 1-3 on the season. The ability of Plainview not necessarily indicative of their record as they face 3 tough contests versus Bethpage, Oceanside, and Farmingdale. But they're looking to pick up their second win in as many games. Straight away now, 15 yards out, a laser bounced out of bounds behind the cage. Sal DiGaetano looking for a second tally of the day. Nothing doing now. They're still on the man up. Josh Heller will start us off behind cage. About 6.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And that feed is intercepted by David Vespi with the long pole. Vespi being ridden out of bounds. And Sal DiGaetano forces the turnover. Coaches love his intensity and his heart. He'll play both ways. He'll call the traffic. He'll traffic the defense, in that 3-3 defensive set. And right now he's on the man-up unit for the Hawks. Trent Acosta near side to Engel. Engel couldn't get that one on cage. The ball now loose towards midfield with 6 minutes to go. 7-0 the Hawks lead. Engel will scoop up the ground ball in the left alley towards the goal line extended. Engel just cradling back and forth, chewing up that clock and getting it into the offensive zone with 5:40 to go. Hawks leading 7-0. It's been all Hawks this afternoon. Herricks fighting tough, though. Defensively, they've been stout on the point of attack, and now they're playing defense in closer quarters as they try to force a turnover and get on the scoreboard. Possible stall warning coming for the Hawks as they're just holding the ball idly, and Dan Desmond with a back foot shot cranked out of bounds towards the far sideline. 5:10 remaining on the clock. It's a gloomy day now. Sunny earlier in the afternoon. The temperature has dipped a hair under 50 degrees. Josh Heller has the hat trick. He's controlling at X, and the near side is Dan Desmond. He'll work towards X. Double team. Herricks trying to force the issue, trying to get a turnover now as he'll swing it to Heller on the near side. Goal line extended. That one appeared to ricochet off the post and towards the far sideline. 4:45 on the clock now. Plainview a 7-0 advantage. Here's Trent Acosta towards the far sideline. In the right alley. Loses the ball momentarily. And a cross check appears to be the call on Herricks. Ball loose in the middle of the paint now. 4:20 on the clock now. Plainview with a 7-0 advantage. They're going to slow down this game and chew some of that clock up as Tyler Engel with the ball. The stall warning should be coming momentarily as this Plainview team just tossing it back and forth, eating away as there's 4 minutes on the clock now. Here's Josh Heller. He drew a triple team as Ted Dowd came out of cage to harass the attackman on that one. Heller just content to cradle that ball and back off as the clock ticks down to 3:40. 7-0 Hawks advantage. Heller at X. He'll roll, dodge, and swing it. And a turnover forced by David Vespi once more. He has a couple of caused turnovers on the afternoon. And both teams fighting for possession of the ball on the near sideline. Great hustle by both sides. It's Ryan Corbett up with the ground ball now. Seven 0 the Hawks lead over the Highlanders of Herricks. 185 seconds remaining on the clock. And a bounce shot set on cage, and Josh Heller once more, his fourth goal of the day. And it gives the Plainview Hawks an 8-0 advantage. 3 minutes remaining in the contest. The junior attackman, Josh Heller, having himself a heck of an afternoon. 4 goals on the day. He's got 10 overall on the season. Heller, a player known more predominantly for setting up his teammates, but today he's found the lanes and he's switched up his approach on goal. He's bounced a couple. He's given it a high-low plane shot. Tried a submarine, but it's all led to 4 goals. He has half of the Plainview Hawk offensive output on the day. 2:50 on the clock. Herricks look to put a tally on the scoreboard. They'll start straight away. Here's Thomas Graff. He'll check it into the offensive zone and swing it over to Alan Chol on the near sideline. Graff will back up and he'll make his dash about 10 yards away from the top of the offensive zone. Here's Ryan Orlando swinging it over back to Graff. 2:25 on the clock now. Plainview with an 8-0 advantage. Graff looks to feed one over to Orlando, and it finds the stick of Adam Seltzer, who is 2:14 away from pitching a shutout. Quickly over to the offensive zone now. He faked low. He went high. Ted Dowd did an excellent job of not being fooled, and he turned away a good opportunity by Dan Desmond. Under 2 minutes to go now. It's an 8-0 Plainview advantage. As the ball loose now on the far sideline in the alley. And Thomas Graff had it momentarily. Eludes a couple shots, and it appears this flag will be on Plainview. Some roughhousing as Thomas Graff took a couple swipes to the uniform. So it'll be a 1-minute cross check. 1:39 remaining on the clock. This Herricks squad, they may be trailing 8-0, but they're not hanging their heads. They're still playing tough to the final whistle, and that's how their head coach says. He says, I have a group of young kids to the final whistle. No matter what the score, we're going to fight hard. We're going to fight tooth and nail, and that's what they're doing. It's a man-up opportunity. 1:30 to go here in the fourth quarter of play. They trail 8-0 on the far sideline. Here's Xavier Salinas. Vasek behind cage. He'll draw a long pole. Has Markopoulos towards his left. He'll swing it over to Markopoulos. Fumble the ball into the alley. There's about 1:05 on the clock, about roughly 30 seconds on the clock on the man up. Graff shot is off point on the left side. Recouped, swung back into the offensive zone. Here's Siddharth Sharma. Double teamed. Absorbs a shot and loses the ball. We're under 50 seconds to go. The Plainview Hawks primed to pick up their first win in Conference 1 battle as they hold an 8-0 advantage. Empty cage now, and it's all academic as Dan Desmond will add his second goal of the day. It's a 9-0 Hawks advantage as the Highlanders pull their goaltender, look to force the issue. Excuse me, they didn't pull their goaltender. Ted Dowd was just simply out of cage, but it's a 9-0 advantage for the Hawks. 40 seconds remaining in the contest. As it's been all Hawks all afternoon long. And some coaching up on the sideline, as this is a moment of growth for his team. He has a relatively young squad, so moments such as this one, Steve Baselli can use his team and use this as a teaching tool, not to hang your heads, to keep fighting through the adversity. As Pat Montes will control on the near side, and Tyler Engel, with 25 seconds on the clock, will swing it to Josh Heller. Heller will just pull it down, and he'll just run for his life, keep it in the offensive zone, and play keep away as they lead 9-0 with 10 seconds on the clock. Tyler Engel on the far sideline. He'll swing one towards the right alley, and that's how this one will end. It's a 9-0 win for the Plainview Hawks over the Herricks Highlanders. Plainview improves to 2-3 on the season. They pick up a victory in their home opener and pick up their first win in Conference 1 battle. Josh Heller, the top scorer for Plainview, 4 goals on the day. So Plainview, they advance to 2-3 on the season, and Herricks, they drop to 1-2 on the young season. Thank you for listening to today's action on MSGVarsity.com. My name's Stephen Florival. Wishing you a good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good afternoon.